Hey, what up, jerks? Hello, jerks. Happy Friday. The sun is out. I hope you enjoyed it today. I sure did. I've been resting. The last couple of days, I have been totally resting. I have a whole pile of things to do, and I mostly didn't do them, which was great. I just needed some rest finally. And I think I'm going to try to take the rest of the weekend off, even, and maybe take a slow week this week, getting ready for the Karen Reed retrial. They're still looking for a jury. They're still selecting jurors. It's going to be probably another full week. We have a great show tonight. It should be fun. Be relaxed. You can send in your super chats. We won't tell you no more super chats tonight. You can send in all your super chats tonight. If you caught the Canton police audit meeting last night, wow. We may have to talk about that tonight. I think I'm going to replay the end of it at the end of the show tonight. We have a great guest. She's got a YouTube channel. She's kind of got a similar story to the Young Jerks. She just had the biggest year ever on YouTube for herself, just like we did. Huge amount of new subscribers. And this is her first time on the show. She's got a legal background. I know she's done some law school. She's been covering the YSL trial, all of that. More recently, she lives in the Boston area, but she did live in Georgia at one point, apparently. And now she's covering Karen Reed as well. And I saw some of her interviews. I'm very interested in speaking to her tonight. And her YouTube channel is AVtothe7thPower. I linked it up in our YouTube chat tonight on the Young Jerks. You could definitely follow her. Please do follow her. Check her out. Subscribe to her. Let's bring her up on the show. AV to the seventh power. AV for short. Welcome to the Young Jerks. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. It feels so good to hear the Boston accent. If you don't mind, I'm gonna hit the horn for that. I don't meet many creators where I hear it and I'm like, I feel like I'm at home.
You got a
It's
horn there?
amazing.
You got a whole system. You can play the
Oh
horn. Is
yeah,
that
yeah. We
yeah?
we even got the we've got the for Auntie Bev when she does rule from the bench. Very rare. She does it. You know, we don't know, but it's also like, hey, when she does rule from the bench, when she's just like, hey, your text messages, these things, attorney-client privilege, it's protected. That was a good moment.
That was amazing that she finally did rule from the bench. She never does. She's always under an advisement.
My God, the
Oh
heavy
man.
sighs, we do it later, all of those things.
So tell me about you. You've been doing this for how long now? YouTubing.
YouTubing probably about 2.5, 3 years. I would say full time though last year.
So you
Um,
do this full time. This is like your full time gig now.
This is what I do. This is what I
Wow.
do. Yeah, yeah. So it was a tough decision when I made it, but I left corporate America, decided not to practice. So I was on the brink of taking the bar exam and practicing full time. Things were going great with my channel. So I decided to do this full time and really educate the public on how the law works. So it really started with the YSL trial last year. But as well as I do, Mike, like this is our home turf with Karen Reed. And I think, being able to go to the crime scene and being a local covering this, I mean, when you collect evidence in these, I just don't know. I don't know what else people want us to do.
I guess the police audit thought that was fine. The guys from DC there, they thought that was totally cool, innovative.
Yeah, and I'm just really disappointed because back in the day I lived in Canton for some time, and these are the people that are out there to protect us. And I was just really let down. I was just like, well, what if something happened to me when I lived in Canton on Washington Street? And is this how we're gonna collect evidence and we're just gonna bag and tag like this?
Right?
Crazy, crazy,
I mean,
crazy.
that's why I don't even go to Canton for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, we were going down there to get some footage for the Karen Reed trial a few months ago, probably January. And we went to the bars and it was a little strange. Like the vibe was weird. People were just like, no filming. And I was just like, okay, you sure? Are you sure we can't film in here? Like just trying to sneak film it. But at the same time, not being biased, but it's a crazy story what's happening to Karen, and really wanted to dive into that.
So are you doing a documentary? Because someone just said that in the chat here. Are you doing a documentary about
Yes,
something?
shout out to the cat lady. Yes, so we have some footage that we did in January. I went to the crime scene just to give people a sense of what it's like from a local. Um, it was really somber driving by there, and at the same time, I don't know the new homeowners. I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna pop out, like, get off my lawn, So me and like the film crew, they were also locally based in Boston. That was tough because it was scary in a way, and it was like one of those overcast days. And I'm like, all right, this is a little weird. We're gonna get in and get out. I'm gonna speak very quickly, and we're gonna run. Just because you don't know what the neighborhood is like. Like, I lived in North Weymouth for a really long time, and while I was in law school, and my neighborhood was very closely knit. Everybody knew who was who. There were some police officers that lived around and firefighters that lived around, but everyone knew who was who. And if there was a weird car, everybody was on text like, hey, whose car is that? Like, what are we doing about this car? So it's like, I do know that New England families and New England neighborhoods are very closely knit. So we
Right.
had that in our minds. But also, as we were filming, we went to the bars, and Waterfall was like, no dice, like, you're not filming. And so we had to get a little creative. But as I was looking at footage behind the scenes, like a few months later, there were people with free Karen Reed hoodies and stuff. They were helping the waitresses, and we're like, all right, well, that person wasn't a waitress, but they were eavesdropping on what was happening. I think they were trying to see what side I was on. It was
So
interesting.
funny.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. Yeah, everyone wants
Yeah.
to know. Everyone's interested in this.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
It's funny you said about Weymouth. I used to have some customers when I was a financial advisor. I used to go out there, North Weymouth, actually. And
Yes.
it's
Yes.
so like that. It is like if you hit the wrong driveway, they're like out there looking at
Who
you.
is this? Like I had a neighbor, she's amazing. She used to actually do a little bit of birding. And like, when I first moved in, she had the binoculars, and she's just like, oh, you live by yourself. What are you, a nurse? And I'm like, no, I'm not a nurse. But like, she knew who was who. Like, I would see her outside sometimes with the binoculars. I'm just like, what are we doing?
Watch it. Yeah.
Just watching, like,
Mrs. Kravitz.
Mrs.
I
Kravitz.
got one of those with the dog walking too right now. We labeled her because she did that. So
Yeah,
funny.
like,
Oh,
but it's really out of a good place. Like, what's going on out here? Is there any anomalies? I would get texts, like sometimes those solar panel people would
oh
be
yeah.
down the street, and they're just like, heads up, everyone, they're coming down the block now.
Yeah,
Just letting you know.
I mean, I'm just like that too. That's the funniest thing. Like if there's anything going on in front of my house with police or
Right. And
DPW or
half the time
whoever,
it's nothing.
I
Half the
know.
time it's nothing.
Yeah, that's what makes me think like they're so full of it in that house that they didn't know what was going on that day. Because if I'm home, I know what's going on in front of my house. You know what I mean? It's like,
All the time, especially around that time, because that's around pandemic time.
right,
I would say like 2020 to 2022 was still a heavy pandemic time. Like 2020 is the biggest part of it. 2021 was a huge part of it. But so many people were very weary and, had the ring footage, had the cameras outside. So to your point, police officers are not going to come outside. Like, what is going on?
right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been times when police officers been on my property or looking for somebody. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we have kids partying in the woods behind us. There's been all kinds of different types of incidents here.
Yeah.
Like most places, if you live, something's going to happen eventually. And when the
Right.
cops are out there, I go out and talk to 'em. I say, "Can I help you with anything? You need any help?
Yeah.
What's going on? Can you tell me what's going on? I live here. I just want to know." And they
Right.
tell you. They're like, "Oh, we're no big deal. Just some kids partying, or we're looking for somebody, not you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's it. It's like,
exactly. Especially if you're a homeowner. That
yeah,
also means that you're a
exactly.
landowner. And like that property line that surrounds your home, that's still your domain. So if people enter that domain, I think just base level, you're going to want to know, what are
Yeah.
they there for? What do they want? What's happening? You're going to go
Can I help
outside.
them too a lot of times? I mean, I remember back when I lived in the
Mhm.
city, there was a guy that they were wrestling in my backyard looking for a gun. I was like, "You guys need help? Flashlights? Turn the lights
Right?
on."
You want anything?
I'm watching it. I'm like watching it from the window. I was like, "Dude, you need help? You need
Yeah,
help?
like
Come
what's
by."
going on back there?
Yeah.
So for
I
Brian
mean,
Albert to not come outside as a law enforcement officer, knowing that it's not only his domain, knowing that that square of land belongs to him. It's crazy work to know, like, all those people were in the house. 11 people walked by that body and no one said anything. It's crazy. It
wild.
doesn't make sense. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Especially not to come out either house, like across the street with the police, Assistant Police Chief Kelleher and
Yes.
Alberts. None of them came out.
Yeah.
Before we get more into the Karen Reed, I want to ask about this YSL that you've been covering because
Oh,
I've
yes.
seen that come up recently. I know a lot
Mhm.
of people into Karen Reed are into YSL.
Mhm.
I didn't really know what was going on. I still don't know,
Yeah.
but there's been some crossover. It looks interesting, and I saw them try to put this rapper in jail, Young Thug, the other day because he was on a
Mhm.
probation violation because he criticized a police officer, which to me it just
Mhm.
reminds me of Turtle Boy, what's going on with us and Karen Reed, and I just
It's a
really
great
disgusting.
crossover,
I hate
really.
that. I think it's so gross that they would try to do that to somebody. What's
Yeah.
going on with that? Because 'Cause you've been covering it. Can you give us a kind of a rundown on what YSL's about and what they try to do to Young Thug this week?
Absolutely. So I covered that one mainly because at the time when it became a big thing, I was living in Georgia. So, at that time I was living in Georgia, but I was finishing up law school up here in Mass. So I lived down there temporarily for work, and then I came back up here to finish up my degree and do what I was doing. But that case caught my attention. Why? Well, there were 28 defendants and it was a RICO case against the rapper Young Thug. Now, even though that he had not committed many crimes that were in that um, indictment himself, I think he did have some drugs. He admitted that. He took a plea deal on it. He did have some weapons, but at the same time, he's a celebrity, needs to
What
protect
kind of
himself.
drugs did he have, if you don't mind me asking? Like weed,
I
coke, or
think it was like codeine, like the cough
okay.
syrup stuff.
Okay.
And, there was some cocaine, but
Was
the
it
thing
like personal use stuff or was he like dealing?
it was personal use.
Oh, come on.
So it was a very small amount, but here's the thing, it's like he was one of those guys where he became successful, so he
Right.
was trying to help a lot of people that he grew up with. So a
Cool.
lot of the guys that he grew up with would go in and out of the house, and it was hard to keep track of whose stuff was who.
Right.
But some of those guys were still involved in the streets and gang life,
Sure.
so some of them were younger than him and some of them got involved in some pretty shady stuff. Um, so Fonnie Willis, we're going to remember this name because the strange thing about this is she really wanted to clean up gang activity. She's a district attorney. She's a fairly new district attorney that was elected in the Atlanta area. Before that, her predecessor had been in office somewhere between 20 to 30 years. She alleged that the guy was like really shady and dirty and things like that, and she would be a better suitable replacement. So she was elected. Once she was elected, one of the first cases that she pursued was Young Thug, saying that he was a kingpin. He was the head of this organized crime that was happening in the Atlanta area, when honestly, the guy was on tour and doing some work and trying to get his friends that were still involved in that off of the streets. So she does that. The other thing that she's very known for is getting the mugshot of Donald Trump, because what she did is she also pursued Trump for RICO charges for the 2020 election. So Fani Willis has a method of pursuing very high profile criminal defendants by using RICO charges. And it's interesting because I had bought on Ashley Merchant, who was on one, not Trump's criminal defense team, but I bought on a lot of criminal defense attorneys in the Atlanta area that represented people in that RICO case for Trump, but also the RICO case for Young Thug. And we've had discussions about it. How is this newly elected official able to put RICO charges? Because it's organized crime, essentially. Like, this is on some Whitey Bulger stuff. Like, we're talking, criminal gang activity from like mob bosses and things of the like. So not only did she say that Young Thug was a potential organized mob boss, but Trump was too. So, I'm not into politics and all of that, but like Trump's legal team was just like, okay, let's talk about this. But really why she became famous in the news is through Nathan Wade, which was a prosecutor that she hired on that case, who she was having an affair with.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was sleeping with a guy, right?
She was sleeping with a guy, and every
That's
other
so shady.
prosecutor, yep, here's the best part. Every other prosecutor is getting paid like $150,000. Nathan Wade was getting paid $750,000 every year for his salary, and it's because he was sleeping with his boss.
Wow. I wonder, that brings up a question.
Yeah.
I wonder if
Yeah.
Hank Brennan is sleeping with Morrissey.
Who knows? I mean, who knows? Like, they
He's
keep
making
it
that kind
under
of bank too.
wraps.
Adam Lally definitely isn't. Adam Lally's not getting. He's not.
I mean, it's boring up here in the wintertime. You never know.
Hank's going Bropack. I need that money, Hank says.
Yeah. So this is the thing. So for me, when I started to see the corruption in Georgia, and at the time I was living down there, and I'm like, okay, here's where my tax dollars are going. At the same time, a lot of my viewers were like, you're from Boston. You need to look at what's happening in Canton. And then when I started looking into this case, a lot later than a lot of folks, a lot of people were covering it from day one. The first day, when I saw they were collecting evidence in this, I was done. I was just so done. I'm like, what the hell? Stop and shop bags? Like, stop and shop? Like, I have one right there, but it's like,
Market Basket? I'm disappointed that it wasn't Market Basket. Don't they have Market Basket?
Market Basket, like,
Do they have one in Canton? Do they not have one?
They might, but there is a Stop and Shop down there that's like in the main road and in the central area.
I drive by Stop and Shop to go to Market Basket.
Yeah. Like, I was surprised that it wasn't a Market Basket bag, but that would have been a plastic bag. Why Canton PD couldn't go to one of those police supply stores and just have stuff loaded up? Like, the lack of supplies, I believe, is a question that hasn't been answered yet. Maybe in the audit, but we have not seen that yet. Anywho, this case has blown my mind. It's like, as a Boston-based creator, I don't think that there are many of us. So I was like, okay, I'm going to shift from YSL back to here. And then 2 days ago,
well, something with YSL goes off.
Yeah, because Young Thug pled. He took a guilty plea, or
what did he
he took probation. It was like years of probation, 20 plus years of probation, right around Halloween.
With some drugs and a gun. Was the gun legal or illegal?
It was illegal. It wasn't registered. So that's the problem, right? So they're like, okay, 40 years of probation, 20 years ago. They wanted him, but like, to really take the fall for this. Now with him, he wanted to get out of jail because he had been in there for trial for 2.5 years. He wanted to go back home to his family. He has kids. He has a girlfriend that is a entertainer herself. Her name's Mariah, the scientist. She's a singer. And so he really, really wanted to go home. He did not care, against the advisement of his attorneys. They said, hey, we can beat
To
this
win
if
this.
we keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he decided
That's
that
the
he was.
problem with the system. It'll
Mhm.
break you. It's like you can be innocent
Mhm.
and it's sometimes just better for your life to take the deal. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine how much money a guy like that is losing being in jail and not being
Yeah.
able to take care of his family
Yeah. Yeah.
and how much cost it just
Yeah. As an entertainer, and probation is a trap, because half of the time they know some of
exactly.
these guys are going to go back in and into the
Yep.
system. And
That's what I was worried about even for like a weed bust. When I was
yeah.
on it for like 6 months for like just some marijuana possession back in the day, and it was
Yeah, and
like,
anything can get you dinged. So if
yeah,
you get like a speeding ticket or something, and that's essentially what happened to this guy. I mean, in my opinion, I think he should have been a little bit more careful, because
sure.
Fonnie Willis was like that woman we talked about at the start of the stream
Right.
with the binoculars. That is, what are you doing?
Yeah, they're trying to
What are
apprehend.
you doing? Are you going to do something else to get into trouble? And that's essentially what happened this week. There's a different case that was unrelated, and one of the detectives that testified in his case testified in this new case. And another YouTuber, believe it or not, posted a stream where she has a Rule 22 in the state of Georgia. She's allowed to be in the courtroom, kind of like Turtle Boy, but she cannot stream. The judge gave instructions, you cannot show who's on the stand. This detective, her name was Detective Viverito, was on the stand. This blogger was in the courtroom. She did not post this person, their likeness, their image, none of that. But when she got home, she did a recap stream like she always does. But she used an image of this person, posted it on Twitter, and said, "Hey, everybody, if you want to see what happened in court today, come check out my stream." Now, Young Doug apparently follows this blogger, took it, reposted it, and said, Detective Viverito is the biggest liar at the DA's office. That's the sentence, guys. That's all he said. The
Crazy to
DA's
me that you
office,
can't criticize them. Like,
he
that's
can't.
just so shady.
So 24 hours later, that's when we saw the order, and the internet blew up Wednesday night, saying, or not even saying, the DA's office filed an order with the judge saying he needs to be put back in jail immediately. He's a threat to society. 2 million people looked at that post, and I've gotten death threats. The detective's gotten death threats, and he needs to be put back in jail immediately.
That's such
Crazy.
bullshit.
It is.
This
And
is
so his lawyer, Brian Steele, who's amazing, he responds and says, okay, here is the plea deal agreement. Here's the terms of it. Where did he violate it?
yeah,
Can you show us
not
where?
nowhere. Nowhere.
Like, so it was essentially attack on influence and attack on the First Amendment. So you're saying that this person can't have an opinion? None of that is in the plea deal. And so Fonnie Willis is like, oh, he should be jailed immediately. He should be put in front of you, judge, immediately. And he should pay for the extra security I had to hire
Come
because
on. Come
because I
on.
got a death threat.
Oh,
The
please.
judge, a few hours later, was just like, no.
Yeah.
No, sorry, denied. If anything, here's a footnote that says maybe the defendant should, he should think about what he opines on. But that's really all she could do, because it would have been a major attack on freedom of speech. So when we talk
Right.
about Turtle Boy, he was when I started covering this, he was one of the first people I had on my channel. And, you guys know he has colorful language. I was just like, oh, this is what I'm getting into. Oh,
Did you use it on your show?
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, yeah. I was just like, well, then I'm in the rabbit hole now. But it's just like, it was a surprise. But after I started really going down the rabbit hole myself and seeing what was happening, I was just like, okay, this is interesting. This is interesting. Shout out to Nosy Rosie. Yeah, I was. I was just like, I didn't expect it, but he's just like, he's so hardcore.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
but you can tell it's because of all the BS he's gone through
Oh,
as a
definitely.
journalist, like being involved, bringing him in as a party in his own case. And, now he's on the witness list this round.
Yep. Yes, he is.
So
I'm probably the
crazy.
only one in the world that believes they may actually call him as a witness. I know he doesn't think it. My friend, Mark Federer, who's his attorney,
Yep.
doesn't think he'll be called, but I don't know, I just get worried about it.
You never know with Hank Brennan.
I know.
You never know. I mean, when he was trying to get after the documentary, when he was trying to bring in some of that evidence in the hearings, like I think it was within the last 2 weeks after the documentary came out, he's just like, "Well, she said this in the documentary. Can we see the text messages?" And like, I think so many attorneys, at least criminal defense attorneys, were like, "Dude, attorney-client privilege. What do you mean? You want to see those privileged communications between a client and their lawyer because she mentioned that she reached out to him on a documentary? Like, we're going to go beyond that line." So I'm really happy Judge, Cannone decided to not grant that motion. I didn't like how Alessi was in the middle of cooking a wonderful stew. As
Right.
he was talking about their argument, or at least defending their side of it, because as soon as he brought up Shakespeare, I was just like, this is going to be chef's kiss, beautiful. But he wasn't able to complete his argument. She stopped him. She says, "Hey, you don't need to. Commonwealth, we're not doing this." So that's good.
And
And I
that was
think,
the one time I'm trying to think if there were any other times, but that was, like, one time when she actually was decisive.
right. Usually she takes things under advisement. She's got to think
Ugh.
about it in chambers. you know, so it was interesting that that is the one thing she ruled upon. But I know that, just folks I went to law school with, I was talking to prosecutors, I was talking to defense attorneys here, and they were just like, if she sides with the Commonwealth on this, because it means something for our state with precedent. If she
Oh,
ruled upon that, that's going to become precedent in this state. So I'm happy she did what she did. But to
definitely.
your point, one of the very rare times where we see Judge Cannone rule from the bench. Most judges do rule from the bench. She likes to take her time and go behind the scenes and think and research and go from there.
Definitely.
So
I
interesting
know we're
stuff.
jumping around a little bit, but I
Yeah.
like your input on all of this so far, like from YSL to Karen Reed, because I want to talk more about Turtle Boy. We mentioned him.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you looked into his case too? What do you think about the prosecution of Aiden Carney, Turtle Boy?
Yeah. So this is a tough one because he's a journalist. He's done this work for a long time. And, for me, I really enjoyed that I took the time to bring him onto my channel too and to talk to him personally. He was really nice. His team was really nice. And to the contrary, a lot of people shade him online and on Twitter. Twitter can be a dark place. I didn't even know about that. I was just like, why are people so mean on Twitter? But
Oh
there's
yeah,
also like a huge pro Karen Reed, pro Turtle Boy collaborative community. And that's what I found researching this case. But as far as his part, I think the big part with Turtle Boy is the freedom of speech argument. But some of the people that are involved in the case are like, he's a nuisance. He's always talking about me and my family, almost like the detective in Fonnie Willis in the Young Thug thing. They're like, because of you, I'm getting death threats. Because of you, I'm getting these comments. Because of you, people are looking up my prior addresses, where some of that stuff is a matter of public record. Where if you sell a house or whatever the case may be, whether it's Norfolk County, Essex County, Suffolk County, those are all matters of public record. People can look it up if they know what they're looking for. So if he's calling attention to an injustice, and let's say he's not the one calling it out, but other people in the comment section or someone else in the community decides to take it further, do you go to that person and call them culpable? So as I was going through this Young Thug this week, this stuff this week with Young Thug, it did actually remind me of Turtle Boy in a sense of, okay, is this person culpable for the acts of someone else, especially in social media? Because the government argument is that these folks amplify it. But you can't be responsible for an adult, number one, you don't know, that chooses to make actions on their own and go from there. You know,
Totally.
it's a little strange. So
Ah,
there were some similarities and some overlap as I saw that, because, you know, with Turtle Boy, yes, he's hardcore, but like there's reasons why he doesn't give it, like, I don't know if I can swear. There's a reason why he doesn't give a shit. You know, like after I went through a lot of his testimony, I was just like, people are destroying SIM cards. Just cut it up. You're going to a military base in 2 bags and you're throwing them in dumpsters. That's a lot of effort to throw something away. And without him, really, I don't think the national sensationalism out of our tiny state, I don't think Vanity Fair would have picked this up, or, you know, bigger news outlets, they would have picked this up. But this is happening where we live.
YouTubers too. Like my show, I wouldn't
Yes.
have picked it up without Turtle Boy.
Yeah,
You know?
same. And it's like, you know, a lot of people, as I was covering Young Thug, because Karen and Young Thug were happening at the same time. You can't be in two places at once.
Oh yeah, that's why I don't know enough about YSL because I was
Exactly.
even can't read. I like people ask, you know, I used to be so much into politics, and half the time I have no idea what's going on. People are like, "Did you hear this?" And like, no clue. If it's not
Right.
Karen Reed, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, because you get insane. Like this week, I had to like pull myself away. Like my team they now have to give me a schedule for all things Karen Reed,
I
because it's like you get so entrenched with, all right, let me give my people what they're looking for. We
Yep,
want to come together. We want to talk about the new updates. But if something else happens, it's very difficult to step away from what you're working on to get caught up on something else, you know?
definitely.
So yeah, so my focus has been here these days, but with Turtle Boy, I saw some similarities on how he's being treated, like in our tiny little state. But it's very similar. Like they're trying to muzzle him.
They
And with
sure are.
all the charges that he has, you know, I would love for him to dial it back a little bit. Like, don't give them ammo. But he said it himself, like, I don't
I think he
care.
knows that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "I'm not backing down." And, like, when I had him on the show, the day before, I usually, even as and you probably know this, even as a creator, I can kind of predict if I'm gonna get hate on something, right? People were just like, "Oh my god, you're gonna have this guy on, blah, blah, blah," like, all these things. Here's the thing, though, I never seen those usernames in my community ever.
No doubt. That's where they all come in. And
Yeah,
they're and
yeah.
in reality, it's like a dozen people controlling several hundred accounts. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, they seem like bots or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be, but,
They're
like,
organized. They've been
yeah,
organizing through the DA. I mean,
yeah,
I they targeted me, way back too, like,
stop it.
basically, about a year ago from December, um, trying to
Wow.
get me to, like they thought they were gonna roll me up and get me to, like, rat on Turtle Boy, and it was crazy. They are so freaking insane, and it did scare me for a little bit because I didn't know what was going on. Turtle Boy was in jail. My head was starting to go I started going insane a little bit. I took, like, a month off. I had to get
Oh,
mental
wow.
health counselor, criminal defense
Yeah,
attorney, and then I
yeah.
came back stronger and I found better out. Like, so it's just like
There you
and I
go.
and I swear to God, it's been like for me, it's been like, you shouldn't have F with me. You should because
That's
because
right.
I'm not a wild man, number 1.
Mhm.
And, you know, when you F with a guy like me, that shows how desperate you are. And the fact of it is they didn't just do it to me. They did it to so many other,
I
mostly
heard.
women out there. They'd
Yeah.
show up at their houses. There was a woman in Gloucester I know who used to have addiction issues. They threw that in her face. They were really nasty. And they showed up at grandma's house.
Oh my
And they're
god!
like,
Like,
"We're gonna
that's
arrest you. We're gonna do witness intimidation if you don't tell us who did, who inspired you to do these acts? That's all they
Who
were trying to do. It's like
inspired
they were
you?
trying to get somebody to say it was Turtle Boy. Turtle Boy told me, and it didn't
Yeah.
work out. Like anyone they pressed charges on got
What
dismissed.
are we in the Salem witch trials? Like, this
Yeah,
is social
it's
media, people. Like, that's what it is. It's
they went after this
influence is
guy,
influence.
Rich, who he gave me this duck, and Rich got a
Okay.
bunch of charges. And when I interviewed Rich on the street in Canton, like one of the
Yeah.
one times I went to Canton, right? I
Yeah.
barely ever go to Canton. We do a protest at the police station. It's proved, permitted by the police. So we're all good. I interviewed
Mhm.
this guy on a live video about the ducks, and they basically transcribed the interview like 7 pages and put it in like a 28-page report against this guy. And they basically treat him like he's Al Qaeda or like he's, like one of the drug
Wow.
gangs. Like they do like a whole, they pull cameras from poles.
Yeah.
They go to synagogues and I mean, it was wild
Jeez.
how much investigation they did of this guy for putting out ducks with messages on them, basically, littering, and all in the end, all
Littering.
charges got dismissed. Every single charge got dismissed against him.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, in the eyes of the law, it's like, okay, is it witness intimidation? But I do think that our legal system needs to be updated to account for social media. It's in our lives. It is. It's been in our lives for about 20 years, whether it was MySpace, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Snapchat, whether it's Twitter now. X, I still call it Twitter because, we're old school. Like, it's
Right.
Twitter. But it's
Twitter.
like social media is here. But how does that look when it comes to cyber crimes or whatever the case may be? You still have to look at culpability. Unless a person is online and they're directing people to go out and commit crimes because of a cause, you really have to look at that differently. And I don't think a lot of modern agencies consider that. If they do, like I do think that the federal agencies do. I have a friend at the FBI, and he talks a little bit about that behind the scenes. But some of these local agencies, it's really because they're getting heat locally.
Yeah.
And Canton, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I went down, I used to live on Washington Street. It was crazy to me that I could have gone to the waterfall 15 years ago and it was all good. But now I go and people are like, are you filming? I'm like, shit. I mean, I used to live here. Why is it a big deal? I'm having a beer. I bought something as a patron. And yes, we might be filming on
We
our
might be
phones.
filming.
We might be filming. It looks like this person's taking a picture of me, but we might be filming. But I think it's just the apprehension of people not knowing people from the outside. If you're not a local, if you're not a townie, like, who's that person? What are they doing here? And little do people know, like, I want justice on either side. But it's just a fact of my main objective on my channel is for people to learn about how the justice system works. And sometimes that means the dark sides of it. Sometimes it means that knowing that people collect evidence in this. It
A lot of dark
happens,
sides
but
in it.
they do.
Yeah.
They
A lot
do.
of dark sides in it, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a
Absolutely.
perfect system by any means.
Yeah. Or, look at how many people learned about the Sally Port footage and how it was put in front of a jury in 1.0. And everything was fine. Prosecution team put it up. Yeah, this is regular piece of evidence. I don't know why anybody didn't attack that in the moment and object. But it's like, okay, we find out on cross-examination that's not the true and accurate depiction of what was seen. You have the dummy. It's not even a full cornerstone, like a full square behind the car. Like, they used the dummy almost in like a triangle. And it's like, okay, that wasn't how it was depicted. That's not how it actually happened. And it's a big problem when it comes to best evidence. Flip it. Like, it's inverted. But I think that people that are interested in this case learned about best evidence and accurate evidence and people disappearing. And, if it's motion detected, is that adequate to show us what we're looking at? And why was that put in front of a jury? Why did the judge allow it?
Yes. And why did she go nuts after she found out it was inverted?
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of legal scholars look at that moment and they say, this is where a mistrial should have been declared, or
Right.
someone should have moved for a mistrial in that moment. It was evidence that was not accurately depicted and shown to a jury, and that was fine. That's actually why the YSL case ended the way that it did, because it ended in someone objected for a mistrial because they had just had a sidebar, and there was a gentleman on the stand. His name is Rooney Lee, and he was told, the judge ruled on something and said, hey, you cannot talk about this certain thing. Defense, you get it? Prosecution, you get it? You guys can't talk about this certain thing. 28 defendants ruled it down to 6. Guess what happens? The prosecutor gets up after she just heard the judge say that, asks a question to get the witness to say the thing that the judge just said for them to not talk about. And the witness talked about it too. So defense gets up and says, we're moving for a mistrial. The judge is like, do you really want one? They're like, yeah. And so it ended up being a motion for mistrial. It was huge. But this is what I mean. It's like, it's so different in other states, but thank God that trial was televised because people were able to see it. Right? And so with this one, it is televised, but maybe we do things differently up here.
Judge Bev does things differently because
Yes.
we've watched other, other judges with even Aiden recently, and it's
Mhm.
like I said, some of the duck cases and those
Mhm.
judges are all fine. They're all normal. They look at the facts and they dismiss charges, but it's just Judge Bev. What do you think about her specifically? Watching her, because we've gone
Mhm.
from, like, on this show, we've said in the beginning she just wasn't good at her job, and then we went to
Yeah.
bias Bev, and then now a lot of us think she could be in the bag. She could be corrupt. It seems like it to me now at this point. Like, I
Yeah.
just don't trust her. Like, I don't want to think that, but it's like hard not to listen to the audience who all think she's corrupt. Like, a
Yeah.
lot of the audience feels that way now.
Yeah.
And because of what's happened in the courtroom, it's hard not to feel that way. What do you think about this judge? And
Yeah, there are specific rulings. Like, I'll be honest, like when I started covering it, a lot of folks had already been entrenched in the case, and they're just like, AV, listen, I know you have high hopes for this lady. She's not going to rule. She's not going to rule in their favor, in the defense team's favor at all.
yeah,
And, I will give her a teensy amount of grace with the attorney-client privilege thing, because I had conversations with local attorneys that were really concerned about how she was going to rule on that. And I do think that's we'll start positive. That was good.
I was
As
good.
far as everything
Oh,
else,
yeah, the one I feel like if she didn't make the right ruling in that, like, she would
we
have
were going to
lost. She
revolt.
would have been invited to any more Chardonnay parties with anyone else
No,
in the
no,
Massachusetts legal
I think,
community.
yeah,
So,
I
I
think a
feel like
lot
she
of people
had
were
to do
gonna
that.
revolt. Yeah,
Yeah,
like, it was not gonna be good for the legal
yeah.
community if she violated attorney-client privilege. That is so sacred. It's a part of the federal rules of, the model rules of professional conduct on the ABA standard across the country. But even just Massachusetts-wise, if she were to rule against that, that would have been a huge problem for every lawyer in the state. So there's that. So that let's start positive.
We'll give her 1
Now,
point, one cookie for that one.
yeah, exactly. But as far as everything else from what I've seen, the Sally Port evidence coming in and that not immediately being looked at, but at the same time, I have to go back and look. I don't know if the defense team objected when it was being shown. And if they did, if we counted how many times they objected if it was being shown, because that should have been a perfect moment for a motion for mistrial, right? But at the same time, criticizing Auntie Bev, if they don't object, do you get it? So that's one point. The
I felt like
second,
they made the biggest, they tried to after the next morning, the next day. when they
Yeah.
came back. I felt like
Yeah.
they tried, and she shut them down. She basically yelled at them. That's what I
Yeah. And
recall
here's the
on all
thing.
that.
She's so cryptic and it's hard to watch because many other trials that you watch, we saw it with Young Thug. We had before Judge Whitaker, we had Judge Glanville. He was a military guy. And whenever anybody objected, he would say, basis. Tell me why you're objecting. Tell me why, like what rule it was. Is it 403? Is it relevance? Is it cumulative? He would make them state why they were objecting. The weird thing about Auntie Bev's courtroom is she doesn't require them to say that. And sometimes when I was looking at some of this old footage, lollygags, and she would allow things to happen where he would object before defense even said anything,
Right.
and she would let that slide. So
Yeah.
if your job as a judge is supposed to be an umpire, you call the balls and the strikes. How do you call a ball or a strike before anybody even throws the baseball
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
before anyone swings the
You're
bat?
out. You're out before we've even had a play.
What the
And
hell is that?
yeah,
So,
unbelievable.
so for me, just with a legal mind, I would watch it and I'm just like, he's objecting before anything is even done. But it's because, like, sometimes I think with folks that have a legal brain, you see what's happening, but you have to remember people that are in the jury, they still need to be guided. The defense counsel is there, but you still have the defense's family. You still have the prosecution team. You still have John O'Keefe's family. You have people in the gallery that still need to know what's going on. We cannot operate in this cryptic way, like almost like the crypt keeper. Like, what
Yeah,
are we
no, it's
doing?
exactly
We're
like that.
keeping things away from
Hide it
people.
away. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, like, why are we hiding things? Like, they need
Everything in
to know.
sidebar.
Yeah, everything's in sidebar, and good for Karen for Karen's team for wanting to hear what's going on. I said this like yesterday when we were talking about the YSL stuff because we went and looked at old footage. They had microphones at each table, and you were able to mute them when there was a sidebar happening. But all of those defense, all those, because there were 6 defendants, there were 6 defense tables. All of the defendants were able to put on headphones and listen to what was able to be heard at sidebar when the attorneys would go up and talk to the judge. They were able to hear it. Karen's like, and I think it was Alan Jackson last week, can we have something like that? Beverly Cannone is like, yeah, I don't know if we can
I
do
don't know.
that.
That seems complicated.
Oh, I don't know. It's too
Yeah.
much. It's 2025. Yes,
Right?
you can do it. We heard Taylor Shabusiness on audio attack somebody today. Like we heard it, but you can mute that. Court, technicians are supposed to be able to do that. This is 2025. It's not 2002. So I do think that there are some antiquated ways with this judge, and I hear she is getting close to retirement age. Maybe she has an old school way of doing things, but I don't think that this old school way of doing things is in congruence with the world watching this case. So a lot.
I hope she retires soon.
Yes. Yes.
I think she needs to go to the beach. Kelly
Yeah.
Kell says, AV, my spirit animal, please tell them about Miss Cleo.
Oh my God. So what is his name? Trooper Paul. So Kelly Kell is one of mine. She's amazing. And she's been she was one of the number one people like, hey, check out this case, review it, check out Trooper Paul's testimony. And I had a giant headache because he was super nervous. But he also said that the crime scene was speaking to him. And I have a lot of props and stuff when I watch things, and I try to help people understand it live and in the moment. But it reminded me of Miss Cleo, the crime scene is speaking to me. So I pulled out some tarot cards. It's like, here's the judgment card. Like, what do you mean the crime scene is speaking to you? Where's the hardcore evidence? So that in itself was already a strange statement coming from somebody that's supposed to give hardcore evidence. Here's what we found at the scene. Yes, we used a freaking leaf blower. But here's what we found. We bagged and tagged these things, but it just gave me Miss Cleo vibes. Like there was a weird
Like a
pirouette.
ghost
I was
or
like,
that show,
dude,
The
are you
Ghost Whisperer or something. The
yeah,
Ghost
like, are you
Whisperer.
dreaming? Like, what is this? Like, the crime scene is speaking to me. So I have a pretty mean
Yeah,
Miss
yeah,
Cleo
yeah, it's
impression.
oh my god, that's hilarious. It's so funny. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be thinking of that every time if they bring Trooper Paul up now. I'm gonna be thinking
true
of Miss Cleo.
papa. That's what I call him. Like whenever whenever we talk about him, I'm like, don't forget about Trooper Paul and the crime scene speaking to him. So
From the
it's
dead. Is
yeah.
he on the he is on the witness list, right?
I have it here. I think he is
I can't believe
Trooper
they're bringing him
Paul.
back. I didn't think they would. But
He's not on both witness lists.
no, he's not. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just
But
on the defense.
yeah, he's on one of the party's witness lists, but he did not do a good job the first time. That was bad. They even said it in the documentary that it was bad. They were like, yeah, he was really
It was
nervous.
not good.
Like, it was not good. Like he kind of blew it up there. Like
Poor
I
kid.
just, yeah,
Poor kid.
exactly. He was like
I
super young, like all this pressure. But why was he nervous?
yeah,
Is the
because they put
question.
him in a bad spot.
Yeah. Yeah, like, none of it made sense. Little did he know that Alan Jackson has this background where he
Right.
understands science, like
Yeah.
the rest of us lay people, we don't understand
No.
science in that way. He didn't know that. So hence the word pirouette. Like, do we use that in regular language? But Alan Jackson bought it up because he's just like, okay, how is this possible for a person to spin and fall in the snow in the way that you're saying that they did? And
Yeah.
let's talk about the distances. You're placing the body here. You're placing the body over here. Which one is it? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just like, all right, dude, which one is it? Like, tell us what it is. Medical examiners, firefighters, first responders, people that look at crime scenes, and especially with him, because a big thing that came out about him was his lack of experience.
Right.
Why was he
It
invested?
was like, where's the real guy? Like, who are the real dudes that wouldn't testify and they put you out here instead? That's what it felt like.
Right. It's like bringing a sheep out to pasture, like,
Yeah.
a young sheep. Like he was, like he was like a sacrifice almost.
It seemed like
Because
it.
these guys have time in the force. They do.
Yeah.
So many police officers that are in small towns in Massachusetts, they've done their time. They've been there for a long time. They've bought family members in, friends in, like, it's a very small community. We're a tiny state. But to see what happened to that poor kid.
Let me
True
ask you this.
Paul.
Yeah. Because there's a thought, I hear this a lot from people now that don't know a lot about the case, kind of like the casual observers locally,
Mm-hmm.
where like I just, I had a family day last Sunday and probably do it again on Sunday again. But
Mm-hmm.
like one of the people there was like, I think the cops screwed up the investigation
Mm-hmm.
and it should get thrown out because of that,
Mm-hmm.
but she probably did it. Like, I think that a lot of people like that don't know think like that.
Yeah.
Where as soon as I, gave him back a couple things, like, if they ever found a body in your front yard and you had the after party, you think the cops wouldn't come in your house? And he's like, what? And then
Yeah.
it dawns on them
Yeah.
what's really going on.
Yeah.
How does the defense drill down? Because I feel like that could be an issue where people are like, well, Proctor's an idiot, but she's still guilty. When in reality, we know Proctor's not really an idiot. Proctor, all his other cases were fine. It was just this one case that, and the same thing with all these other police officers like Fanning. You know, if you look
Mhm.
at all his other cases besides Sandra Birchmore, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everything's fine. So how do you drill down? How do you, as a defense attorney,
Yeah.
make sure that the jury doesn't kind of take that viewpoint?
Yeah, I think it's a hard one because from the defense side, you got to stick with your guns from the first trial, in a sense, right? You have to learn from the mistakes from the first trial, and you have to improve and really show out and deliver for the second trial. Public perception versus what the jury is seeing. Public perception, I try to tell people, especially here in Mass, this happened to you. Do you want people collecting your, if something happened, you want them collecting evidence in this or the Stop and Shop bag? No. And that's, I think, how you raise awareness around it, because that in itself was wrong. And it was in the Canton PD audit. That was wrong. They should have stayed with John's body. They should have taken pictures of it. I don't care how cold it is. We are here in the north. It snows all the goddamn time. And you should have taken pictures of that. I don't care how cold it is. You could have stayed out there in 20 degrees while it was snowing and taken pictures. You could have done that. So there's failure there. But I think for the defense at this time, they have a hurdle because, yes, we're in jury selection right now. 10 people seated yesterday. We're almost there. They know about the case. But I think this time you have to fill the holes, learn about what wasn't accomplished first trial, why these people ended up in a hung jury, and learn from that. A lot of people don't get a second bite at the apple. So in a sense, Karen has a unique opportunity here with her defense team. But those people that are like, oh, she's guilty, she's got a guilty face, open and shut case, Johnson. No, you have to look at the facts. And I think that they should really lean into that a little bit with the police failures. Because with this Canton audit report, that's actually a very great tool. You know, the fact that these guys should have had, has anybody asked why they don't have adequate supplies? Like, can somebody go to this local store in Milton or somewhere else and just pick up supplies for evidence collection? And you have ATF people in the building. You have FBI connections. Can no one loan you some supplies to use? I don't understand. So I think they really need to lean into the police failures, because essentially that's the heart of any criminal defense. Prove it. My client did this, prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Show the jury beyond a reasonable doubt that she did this. If you cannot prove that, then public perception, people usually go into this with, she looks guilty or she did this, and this is what people are saying. Michael Proctor's a jerk, but he's a police officer. Is it okay if it happened to you, if you got hit by a car or something, for him to text his buddies about it the next day, man or woman? That's not cool. That's not okay. And I think that's why people need to pay attention to this case. It wasn't just about Proctor. It was a failure. And as a Massachusetts resident, I'm going to say this with pride, I'm really disappointed that this is how a decorated police officer's case was handled.
Really.
I'm so sad that that's how they did John O'Keefe. These are supposed to be his brothers in blue. Take pictures correctly.
So disappointing that it still doesn't have any justice. Like there's still not, the governor, AG have basically stayed out of it. Like it's embarrassing. And even the state police, they sacrificed Michael Proctor, but what about those other guys that were in on the text chain?
Higgins,
really
like ass dials, like my ass is gonna call you, and then this ass is gonna pick up. What the hell is that? Like, I don't get the butt dials, but
no explanation on that one. That will never make sense.
No, like boom, like here's the other one. Like what? I don't get it.
I mean, I can see one butt dial,
mm-hmm.
but what are the chances go back and forth back? No way. No way.
Call and then answer. And then Alan Jackson hit it beautifully with like, hey, if it was a butt dial, wouldn't it have left a voicemail?
Yeah.
No voicemails. Especially with Jen McCabe. Like, that phone right there, I'm looking forward to trial 2.0 because I want to see what good old Jenny does on the stand there. That's going to be interesting.
And Matt McCabe too. He had a interesting cross-examine last time too as well,
Oh,
both of them.
Maddie. Yeah,
Yeah,
Maddie
he's kind of
Collins.
the weak link, isn't he? A lot of respects. Like, I feel like he had a tough time last time. Even more,
Yeah.
Jen was bad because she was so reactive and so angry, and
Yeah.
but in a lot of respects,
The
Matt was
infamous
even worse, like in
Yeah.
terms of the way he answered things.
Yeah, and to Matt's here's the thing. When other defendants go on the stand, they say that they haven't watched the trial and heard about how other people have performed before them. They absolutely do. They
Especially what's
do.
on TV. They watch it
Yeah.
every single minute of it.
It's everywhere. Everybody's watching it. You can go into barber shops, like accounting firms, like law firms. People have it on the TV in public places. They're watching. I had up here in the North Shore, I had the police come to my apartment for something. And, I was talking to them. They walked by, saw the equipment. They're like, Emily D. Baker, these people. I was just like, yeah, but they watch it too.
You do.
They do. I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, okay, so people are watching this stuff. But I think with him and with all of the witnesses, they did watch to see what other people were saying. And you can tell by whenever it's cross-examination time, people are they go from being relaxed to having lots of drinks of water to being very stiff.
Yes.
And it can be natural with cross-examination, but if you have nothing to hide, it's a pretty quick thing.
There's a
You
lot of
answer.
this too with the bottles, the
Mhm.
caps. They're
Fidgeting, like just not being able to stay still, like just always
yeah.
moving, looking over at Lolly for help, like, hey, help, help,
Help, help.
help,
You
you
gonna let
know?
this guy do that to me?
Yeah, like
Right.
lifeboat, come on, phone in a friend,
Object.
help me, you know? And he's like, objection, no basis. We don't know what the hell's going on or why he objects. And Auntie
Just
Bev's
object.
like, I'll give him that one. I'll
I'll
give him
give him
this
that. I'll
one.
give you that. I'll give you that, Mr. Jackson.
Right. Exactly. So you don't, and
Let you have
it's
it.
really exactly, but it's really unfair though, I think, for people watching because you don't know what the objections are
Oh,
and how it's being ruled
frustrating to
upon.
watch. It is so true. It's like
Yeah.
half the time you have to figure it out. You're like, I don't know what's going on
Yeah,
right
it
now.
stinks. Like, when I was watching the YSL trial with my folks, I taught my chat how to object. And the happiest moment for me, I was a proud mama on YouTube.
Aw.
They were objecting before the attorneys did. And they were like, 403. I was like, I love this. I love you guys. Like, but that's what it's supposed to be like. And here, I know that in Massachusetts, because I went to law school here, we have very antiquated ways on how we have courtroom decorum. Look at the courtroom. Like it's so tight. It doesn't have modern technology. Karen now has to go up to the bench with her attorneys to hear what's going on. We can't even give her a headset. It's crazy.
The main room, the jurors can't see the witnesses.
Mhm.
I mean, that's I bet you don't see that in other states, AV.
No. No, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean,
Antiquated. I like that word. That's
super
that's exactly what
antiquated.
it is. Our government.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we're supposed to be very smart, progressive, educated, highly educated, which we are in
We have
Massachusetts, but we
amazing
have the
law
worst
schools
government.
in this
We have the
state.
worst government. They
Yeah,
are not any of those things.
and
They're not
it's
transparent. They're not
expensive
up
to
on
live
technology.
here. Like, where's the tax money going? That's a whole nother conversation.
It really is. Be here all day.
Right. I love it. I
Well,
love
I
it.
want to ask about Michael Easter because this FBI guy was supposed to testify about what we were just talking about, the police procedures and
Mhm.
all the things that got screwed up in the investigation. Retired FBI agent would have been perfect for this. He's an expert witness. He's spoken so many times, even about data and data collection and things like that. She didn't let him. She's not let him testify. She's basically the judge is saying, well, the jury doesn't need an expert. They could figure this out on their own. That the investigation was bad. Do you buy
Amazing.
that? Do you think there's any chance that he could come in later, especially because of this audit stuff now, maybe becoming more relevant? And what does the defense do without an expert to kind of get to where they wanted to get with him?
Yeah, a motion for reconsideration would be good, but the issue is we're running out of time before trial day, right? With 10 people seated right now, we're really running out of time. The witness lists have been firmed up. To your point, he would have been an amazing expert because here's the thing: house long to die in the cold comes up with a person like that. These things that have magically disappeared comes up with a person like that. I know sometimes with judges, if there are repetitive witnesses, they tend to not want too many. I mean, from what I'm seeing here, there's a lot of repetition on this witness list, and he would have been a super valuable witness. She did rule on that recently. I wish she hadn't ruled in that way, but she did. And, it stinks because sometimes when these things happen, we have to learn to pivot. And I think the defense team knows that about this judge, that you never know. And with her, we have plan A and we have plan B, and we have to have a backup plan, because what does happen is we need to be able to bring in somebody else to bring in the heat in that way. If we can't bring this FBI person in, I mean, that would have been a tremendous asset to the defense team, specifically when it comes to cell phone data, some of the digital forensics that we need, because the digital forensics are going to be able to explain a lot of things. Karen's phone connecting to John's Wi-Fi at 12:36. Jen McCabe saying, "Yeah, I looked out the window. They were still outside at 12:45. You have a woman's word versus digital forensics. That's a big thing. And I think it is a threat to the Commonwealth's case if we can actually bring more science in this time. It sounds like they are prepared for it. And, I have full faith in the defense team when it comes to them learning from the first trial, because any attorney, you're going to really study every single intricacy from the first bite at the apple versus the second bite at the apple. And you have to know, like, you're not always going to get rulings in your favor. So you have to have a plan B, So if they have other options for digital forensics, or you get stuff in through other people, that's the way you get the evidence in. But that was not okay for Bev. But again, she did it. Sometimes you have judges that are really unfavorable. In the YSL trial, we had the first judge who was a military guy, but he wanted to throw one of the defense attorneys in jail. So you will have some crazy judges sometimes. And he was the chief judge. So it's not even like they can, they did get him thrown off the case, and they had somebody else like replace him, which was technically, he was a chief judge. One of his employees had to oversee the YSL case. But that judge was willing to go so far, and it was over someone telling one of the defense attorneys that there was an ex parte meeting. And here's the thing: an ex parte meeting is not allowed without the other side being there. The judge still had it. And that attorney called him out, like, you had an ex parte meeting. Tell us what happened. And then the judge said, "Tell me who told you." He's like, "No, I'm a defense attorney. I want to know why we weren't there." And the judge says, "Tell me who told you. If you don't tell me who told you, I'm going to put you in contempt. I'm going to put you in jail all summer, and you can sit in a cell with your client." Some of these judges are wild. So,
Power tripping.
Yeah, power tripping. So when I see Judge Cannone, in a sense, I'm looking at this like there's a little, not even a little bit, there's some power tripping happening here. There's not a lot of female judges in our state, and I get it, especially, retirement's coming. This might arguably be one of the biggest cases of her career that she's presiding over.
Yes. Definitely the most eyeballs in her career.
Yeah. And, I say antiquated because this one's televised, so everyone's watching. The world is watching, so it's going to be interesting. But I wish that FBI gentleman was able to come in because digital forensics don't lie. We would have been able to attack the Sally Port video, like all of it, all of it. So it's a huge loss that he's not coming in, but I have faith in them that they're going to be able to get some of this evidence in through other people.
It says, can the defense bring in the info from the audit?
Yes, we talk about best evidence a lot. I don't know if I have it because I'm a little rusty with live trial streaming, but I keep like federal rules of evidence right next to me, and I have everything flagged. When you want to bring a piece of evidence like that in, what you have to do, because this is recent, obviously you have to show it to the other side. You have to let them know that it's coming in, and you have to bring it in through a witness, right? So, given that, I think with them having a few weeks, they might be able to get it in towards the end, but it has to come in through a witness from the defense side. The Commonwealth can bring it in, which, sometimes is risky, but it would hurt them to bring it in, right? But at the same time, if there is information that shows ineffectiveness of this, I do believe that the defense team has this on their radar to bring in. So I think they could bring it in, but it would probably be later in the trial because remember, all of this is for them. Their biggest strategy is going to be about law enforcement making mistakes. That would actually be an asset for them to bring in.
We talk about, you said they would have to do it through a witness. Who might be the witness that would kind of talk, answer questions about it, you think?
I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, well, this came up last week in a hearing with the documentary thing, right? They were like, oh, there were questions about the documentary in itself, but no one that actually produced the documentary from that company was there. So you need to have people that are very close to the information or the piece of evidence for it to come in. Now, they would need to either have the author of that audit or the government body that completed that audit for them to come in and have them on the witness list. So that's the tough part. So it depends on if anybody is connected to it. And just to be honest, guys, like I haven't seen it yet. Like I know it exists, but I don't know whose name's on it.
What about the chief of police, Rafferty? She'd probably be a good one, I imagine, to question about it.
Okay. Chief of police, probably. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it falls under their regime. And Rafferty is the new chief of police because the last one that was in place passed away. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's Berkey.
So that actually might be a great angle. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I'm thinking, I think it might be.
And
Or someone's like Chris Albert. That's another interesting one.
Rafferty is on the list, right?
The selectman. Chris Albert.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Albert's on here too.
Yeah,
so
maybe that would be a good one.
Anybody that's at Canton Police.
Yeah.
So we've got some good stuff there.
Definitely. A couple of questions came in. Sherry D says, Karen have an MS ADA violation striking the headset.
Oh, Sherry, that's a good point. I would actually raise that because if she has a medical issue, American Disabilities Act, you do need to make accommodations in public places with things like this. Oh, Sherry, that's amazing. They could raise that because, as mentioned, I think there was a gentleman in the YSL case, one of the defendants, they went from 28 defendants down to 6. And before the final 6, when they were down to 12, I think there was someone that did have some sort of disability. And I don't know if that was a trigger point behind the headset, but they could, because if she does have MS, having her get up and go, you guys know how many sidebars there are. There are a lot. So to have her continuously get up and go up there, get up and go up there, get up and go up there as a defendant, they could argue that, and the court would have to make some accommodations.
An identified co-conspirator said they will never find 12 to convict. I hope they find 12 to free. What do you think? You think that she could ever be found guilty?
I think she has a better shot at this trial. because again, people are going to fill out that questionnaire. People, the defense and prosecution and the judge, mostly the judge, they're going to ask questions to these jurors. It looks like there are 10. I did hear that there was one male of color, so that's good. But I think that we're going to get a new slate at this. They were hung before. I think this time, if everyone brings it, you got Brennan, like the state is going to bring it. And, even though like there's some issues over there, but I do think the defense team having a second shot at this is so rare, guys. I think you're going to see the best from this defense team that you've ever seen before. And having Alessi on there, that's, I'm a fan. Like I'm a
He's
fan of
amazing, isn't
Alessi.
he?
I'm like, wow,
He's
he's
amazing.
like the hidden gem on this. So I'm really pumped
He
that they
is so
have.
good at this. He
He
really
really
is.
is. He is,
His
and he doesn't back
pacing.
down.
Yeah, he's strong,
Mhm.
but he's nice. He's like nerdy. He's like, I don't know.
Exactly,
I
and it's
don't.
like you don't expect it, and when it's
Yes.
time for the final jab, he's like, "Boom, boom, boom," and then he's like, "Boom," and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god,
Yeah.
Alexi's in the ring!"
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
it's gonna be great.
But he's got this like quirkiness, like they just makes you interested in him.
Exactly, exactly. He's an interesting character, and I find that the attorneys shine usually mid-trial or towards the end, but you do need to get a chance to get to see how they perform and go from there. I think the jury is going to be quite surprised too when they meet Alessi for the first time or a second time, and they're just like, "Whoa, who's this guy? He's pretty good. He's pretty convincing."
Yeah,
That's what matters,
that is what matters.
Mhm.
It makes it easy to understand too. As a comment, I don't really get it. I wonder if you can answer this from Pickett's. YSL trial revealed how the government works with McDonald's app to lure certain phones via specific deals for 2 for 1 to identify who had which burner phone. Is that correct?
Lemony Pickett's, that's an interesting one. I do know that the crime took place, the murder took place at a McDonald's. There was a McDonald's at issue. Brian Steele, Young Thug's attorney, kept wanting, oddly, kind of like this case, he wanted footage of the final issue, and McDonald's, believe it or not, had re-recorded over that footage. So, there was a lot of cell phone information going around. And in the final presentation from the prosecution, the 6 defendants, they were looking at where everybody's phone was. Now, the McDonald's app does become at issue because there is geofencing and location data that's tracked through the app as well. Now, I don't know if the luring part is something I can speak to because some of these guys did have burner phones. Yes, like they were unregistered, but as far as like that being connected, I can't say that for sure. But you just know that, all of you guys watching, like you have a phone, almost every single app, unless you tell it
Tracking you.
not to, is tracking your location. We all use technology, smart cars too. I just got a Tesla and I don't like it in a sense because obviously it's a big target right now. But I was thinking the other day as I was driving about all the data that's coming now from my car.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow. So interesting stuff.
Yeah,
Bev is burning.
we're all on everything now. They can track you everywhere you go now.
Exactly. They probably like know who we all are. Like, here's all the YouTubers covering the
Oh
covering this
yeah.
case.
Oh
you
yes,
know? So it's
definitely.
interesting. It is
It's
interesting.
funny when you said that too earlier about like, the cops were like, "Oh yeah." Who they say? Which one of them?
They
One
were
of the
like, oh,
YouTubers?
Emily D. Baker, the
Emily
lawyer,
Baker, yeah.
and I was sitting there. I kind of just let it slide. I was like, I'm covering this case too, but I didn't say anything because it was unrelated. But like, even the cops are watching this.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I run into them sometimes. Like,
Do
I
you?
went to jury duty, I don't know, maybe about 6 months, 8 months ago, and I'm sitting there next to a guy, and he's like, "Young jerks?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm a former Mass State Police." I watch
Oh,
you all the
wow.
time." And I'm like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah, yeah,
He's
and
like,
then
"Karen's innocent." That's what he said. I was like, "Oh, you
whoa.
we should talk." He
Yeah,
started telling me stuff, but he didn't know any
interesting.
of the details about that stuff really, but,
Yeah.
besides watching it, but he feels like she's innocent. So many cops watch. It's so funny.
Yeah, it is, but I would say that's probably one of the bigger, populations that watch because
Oh,
this is one of
totally.
their own,
Yeah.
and I do think that they should watch. In the documentary, we saw, John's funeral and, like, huge turnout for that. I didn't realize that until I saw it because, I'm kinda getting into this case late, but I saw that with YSL too, like, I would get recognized in Atlanta all the time. I come home, everybody's like, "Oh, it's just another girl in a Boston cap." And I'm like, "Okay." But when I put the glasses on, people are like, "You do look familiar." I'm like, "Oh, do I? Do I?" I just kinda let them figure it out on their own. It's a lot of fun.
You get recognized in Boston when you were out?
Not much, because it's, I think
Yeah.
more in the South. I did get recognized in Vegas once, San Diego once, but at home, probably not, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, I get recognized sometimes around here, but,
Mhm.
on the North Shore, but, once in a while. But
Yeah.
anytime I go to Norfolk County, it's like, Jesus
It's just like,
Christ.
"Oh, it's my
Everyone's like, "You're
Uncle
Jack!"
Jax."
Yeah. It's like when you're in Canton, it's different. It is, like you
Yeah.
said, everyone's like, "Are you filming? Am
Yeah,
I
well,
being
you know
recorded?"
what? I just remembered the day that I did go to Canton, we went to the crime scene, we went to the waterfall, we went to CF McCarthy's. I didn't have my glasses on. So, that was one thing, but when we were looking at the footage, I saw, like, people in free Karen Reed shirts just walking by,
Trying
like,
to figure
walking
you
this
out.
way.
Who's this one? Who's this one now?
Yeah, they were like, "Is she on the other side?" Like, it was
Yeah,
so funny.
you're not with Kevin, are you?
Um, yeah, exactly. Are you with Kevin? Too funny, too funny. Um,
Kev
Southern Mom says I had Ashley Merchant on. Yes, that was so fun.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
I know people brought that up tonight. Chat.
Yeah, Ashley Merchant was probably one of my favorite guests on the show. She is such a sweetheart. When I was living in Atlanta, the way I got to get to know her, we had the same hairdresser. So
Oh, wow.
she put us together, and it took a little while because Ashley was working on a lot of stuff. But Ashley Merchant is an attorney. For those that don't know, she was on the Trump RICO case. She had the name of her client. I can't remember off the top of my head, but she had a client that was indicted under that RICO case. But Ashley is such a superstar because she is the person that revealed that Fonnie Willis and Nathan Wade had a personal relationship. She is the one. And so all those other defense attorneys, even Trump's attorney himself, the only reason why they were able to succeed in getting Fonnie Willis thrown off of that case is because of Ashley's work. She's married, she has daughters. She's just such an inspiration in the legal world. And so when I landed that interview, I was so happy. She came on, we talked. It was a great conversation. And she's so good about teaching people like how the law works. And, she would like break things down. Like, for example, like one of my audience members was just like, why is RICO like so often used in Georgia? And she broke it down so beautifully. And I just can't thank her enough for coming on. And she goes on a lot of other channels, but around that time, that was great. And then she also had a client that was still involved in the YSL case as well. So that was huge. She also just got a judge and to rule that Fonnie Willis has to pay her and her law office $54,000. I was like, shout out to Ashley. Like she's just so good at what she does.
How did she find out about the affair? How did she get the dirt on that? I'm interested in
So Atlanta's small, kind of like Boston. There was a gentleman, he was another attorney that she knew. His name was Terrence Bradley. He was Nathan Wade's law partner. And he was texting Ashley all this information. And he's just like, yeah, they've been together for a long time, all these things. It's so shady. I don't know what to do about it. Ashley was screenshotting all of that. The guy had no idea, but he was like her mole. And she
Wow.
did ask him permission, like, hey, I'm going to come out with this because it's not fair to my client and it's not fair to the taxpayers. You know, like this guy's getting paid $750,000 a year. Everyone else is getting paid $150. Why is she paying him more? But further than that, she found out about all the trips, and then she was able to ask for, she did a lot of research on her own, but she was able to get their like records for credit cards and things, and she was able to match up dates based off of what this guy was saying. And so it was hard because that was Nathan Wade's law partner, but his former best friend. But him and Nathan had a falling out because the guy had something going on at the law office with one of the interns. Like, I was just like, oh my God. So he got fired. So he had some bad blood with Nathan. And that's why I think he was willing to open up to Ashley. And Ashley's like,
Yeah.
she was conflicted. She wanted to do the right thing. And she did.
Right.
Amazing.
Because it reminds me of some stuff that's going on behind the scenes with Turtle Boy's case.
Yeah.
People don't know yet. People don't know yet. The stuff that might be coming out.
Mike, something's coming
KP
out
better
soon.
Be nervous. KP, you better be nervous.
Something's coming out very soon.
We got a question for you from K Wag. She said, AV, does Mass have a Georgia CDL equivalent?
A GACTL equivalent. Okay, so GACTL means Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Attorneys. I believe there is one. I have a friend that I went to law school with. She's an amazing criminal defense attorney. I'm sure that we do. I don't know the exact name of it. I can ask her and come back to this stream and drop it in the comments for y'all. But great question. I believe that they do. Most states do. I just don't know what the exact name of it is.
What is that in Georgia? Like,
what
does that mean?
So GACTL, Ashley Merchant was actually the president of the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Attorneys. So remember how I told you that judge was trying to lock up Brian Steele for refusing to tell him who the mole was in that case? Ashley Merchant called the entire squad of criminal defense attorneys. It was like 20 of them. They were all waiting outside of the courtroom because they could not believe that Brian Steele was being almost placed in contempt because of what this judge was doing. They all shared the law and crime feed of what happened, and they all disagreed. And Ashley was actually Brian Steele's attorney. She represented him. And that is the reason why Brian Steele didn't set foot in jail, because she came in that day. She got there in 25 minutes, represented Brian, was just like, he should not be in contempt. There's a difference between civil contempt and criminal contempt. What you did, Judge, is you're placing him under civil contempt, or it was one of the other two, but the judge picked the wrong one. Ashley caught it, and she came in and saved the day. So it was amazing. But a lot of states, almost all of them, have a criminal defense group for lawyers that, and it's not even just to protect themselves. It's really just an association where they're criminal defense attorneys. They get paid a lot of money, but they come together to talk about things related to criminal defense. They talk about reform when it comes to criminal defense. They talk about the justice system in their states. But Ashley, in that case, was a president of that group, and she came in and really showed out for Brian Steele. So here, it'd be interesting because you have Alan Jackson and others that are out-of-state lawyers, but you do have Karen Reed's first attorney, which would fall under, some Massachusetts protection. So that'd be pretty cool.
So, Southern Mom is very excited to discover you tonight, AV.
Yay, Southern Mom.
Do some binge watching. People, if you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe to AV. It's pinned at the top of the chat tonight. Make sure you follow and subscribe to her. She's doing amazing content. You can tell she's phenomenal. She likes to teach. I the whole thing with going back to Trooper Paul.
Oh, Trooper Paul. The crime scene spoke to us. Like, I gotta find it, but I was like, I did like a little short. I was just like, we have the justice card.
We need a crystal ball.
Right. Call me now for your fabricated meeting. Like, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. But yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like I have fun with my chat. Like, if you guys are ever watching the trial, you want to come through, like stop by. Like I like to do it in a lighthearted way. Like sometimes if prosecutors talk too much, I have a wrap it up box. Like, we have like little fun things that we
Props. I
do.
like the props. That's a good
Yes.
thing to have. I think
Yes.
like I got I always bring up the ducky. I like the ducky.
The
You get
ducky's cool. The
the
ducky is
ducky is
cool
cool.
because like chat knows what you're talking about.
I got the ducky on standby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I it's funny because there's been so much going on that you've been covering with YSL. I'm guessing there probably were there a lot of trolls and like harassers that were against YSL, or mostly
Yes,
people
there
just
was one
want.
woman, her name was Vera. She went everywhere. She went to Law and Crimes Chat. She went to every channel that was covering it. And then we all eventually caught on. I think her name was Vera. And she was like, Young Thug is guilty. And like people would follow her. There would be a few. My chat's very lighthearted. So sometimes it would make fun of attorney suits. And like, if one of the prosecutors wears a bright yellow suit, we're going to talk about it. And so I let chat have fun. And
Right.
so if they're like Tweety Bird suit, or like she looks like the sun, or something crazy like that, like I did get a few people that were like, your channel is just all about making fun of the state, and it's just like, is it, or is it really about bogus charges being placed on these people
Right.
unfairly?
Oh,
Or
justice.
if the
Yeah.
prosecution team, should have bought charges against each of these people individually, I think it would have been a better distribution of tax dollars. So I let trolls rock for a little bit. I watch them, but I have amazing moderators, and when we see it, they're out. They're out of there. I don't
Really
like
good
before.
mods.
I used to be
Are
like,
they like
yeah,
how many moderators do you have on there?
a ton. Like I would say, like probably like 15.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's because I want chat to have a good experience. I balanced it out. Like before, I had like, like I would, as appreciation for like top donors, I would give them stuff, but they were always busy. I just started noticing the people that would come back every day. And because they were always there watching, I know that they want a good experience. So I knew that they would look out for other people. And like now it's like within minutes. Like they catch it or I catch it, we're out. Like I have no tolerance for trolls. And I
Yeah.
saw that come in with Turtle Boy a little bit.
I was
And
gonna
like,
ask because that
yeah.
must have been because anything Turtle Boy and Karen Reed,
Yeah. Now
especially Turtle
I
Boy.
don't even care. Like now I'm like, I don't even care if I lose to
Are
some
you
guy.
are you used to
Phew.
it by the trolls? Like, because
Yeah.
they could get nasty. I mean, you talked about Twitter earlier. They like
Yeah.
looked up I never even knew this. Like my
Mhm.
parents apparently got divorced in 1972, and
People
they
have
looked up their
fun.
divorce record and posted it.
Yeah,
And I was
people
like,
have fun.
that's something I never even saw. Like I
Yeah.
never even it's a document I didn't even know about. Like
It's crazy. Yeah, no, I had Brother Counsel on my channel. Like I interviewed him a few days ago and he was talking about this. And like I do think that Twitter is probably the space where a lot of the shenanigans are
right.
happening. But as a creator, I know that there are different age groups and different methods of using social media. People in Twitter seem to be a little bit less regulated, a little bit more free to do what they do. And you have to think about like YouTube. YouTube has guidelines. Like there was one time I was streaming a trial and it showed somebody's phone number. YouTube does not have any tolerance for that. Phone numbers, addresses, they will do it themselves. If somebody reports the video, they will take it down immediately. Twitter's a little bit more
Free.
lax in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really is the platform. And I think that's why people get away with that. But as far as like people doing it, that's why I have a little bit of a lower profile on Twitter, is because I know people are a little crazy over there.
Yeah, they
but
are.
but I know with YouTube, I know that they have more guardrails, that they take this stuff seriously. Even Facebook and Instagram, I feel recently have put their protections up. Now with screen sharing on Facebook, believe it or not, guys, they do like they protect everybody where people can't really like, how like you can screen record things.
Yep.
Facebook has been cracking down on that. So Meta has been doing a better job as a company. Twitter, not so much. So people can, like, they're more about, we call that doxing. Like it's more it's in the mud. Like people get in the mud over there. That's why I'm like, I'm not growing this audience that much. So, like I'm gonna stay over here and in the spaces where I know I'm protected. But the fact that people are doing that on both sides, it's messed up. Like people don't want to be talked about. And so the way that they retaliate is and sorry for the noise. My dog is out there, and so you're
Don't
probably
worry
getting
about
some
it.
background noise. But like people try to retaliate with things that they don't like to hear with doxing and from like public information. And what you mentioned, like divorce records, deeds to houses, just putting on my law hat, those are all public record. That's why they can get them.
Definitely.
Even
I just think
Zillow.
it's crazy that they went and found that. Like I
Yeah,
think they even had to go to
you
like a
have
town
nothing
hall.
to do. Like if you have nothing to do all day, if that's what you're doing, So
Yeah,
like that's the other thing. Like that's why I choose to ignore that stuff, block those people
definitely.
immediately,
You know what
block out the noise.
yeah, you know
Go
what I
ahead.
appreciate about a lot of them is they watch every show.
Yeah.
I like that's the if they're gonna do anything, I appreciate when they watch the show.
Yeah, it's the hater watchers on the wall. Like
Yeah.
if you're a Game of
They
Thrones fan, it's the watchers on the wall, but these are the hater watchers on the wall.
yeah.
Yeah, they
They
love what
boost
you
our numbers. They boost our numbers.
Yeah, they boost the numbers, but low key, they kind of like what you're saying.
They do. Some
But
of them
they
love us. They're like
Yeah,
really obsessed.
exactly. Exactly, and that's why they come back. Because
Yeah.
there's something about the personality where they identify what the person is saying. I have had people that my mods have blocked by accident, or not even, they were out of pocket. They've emailed me and apologized. They're like, "Can I come back and chat?"
Yes. And then they become friends.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Sure, that's no problem." They're like, I like your community the most." I'm like, "All right, so don't be bad." Like, that's it. I'm like, that's all. So the good stuff, really good stuff.
It is. It's funny.
Mhm,
I had
mhm.
one just message me like I think it was on Facebook. Like they showed me. I couldn't tell if it was for Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, but it showed that they were blocked by us. And I was like, "Does this? Are they complaining, or do they want back in, or what
Yeah,
account is it?" I'm
yeah,
like, "Should I even respond to this one? Should I
yeah,
just ignore it?" Because it's like it's funny because when people message you with that stuff, it's like, maybe tell us what you want. Are you looking
yeah,
to get back in? Do
yeah.
you think it was wrong that we blocked
Mhm.
you, or are you just mad?
Yeah, and
Let us
so,
know.
like, I have, like, disclaimers. I'm just like, if you choose to email us, it needs to be business purposes only. People get crazy on Instagram. Like, I get DMs, and, like, there's one dude, he, like, just has he's been having a conversation with me for 6 months that I've never responded
I think I just saw
to.
that guy in the chat. I've got a bunch of those. I've got a bunch of those. It's funny because I blew up your email too much for this
Oh,
KR stuff.
no,
It's
this unidentified co-conspirators, fine. That's where I got this list from,
all right.
so that person's
He's
fine.
good. They're good.
Yeah, yeah,
But
they're
I
good.
I have a few of those. A couple. One of them I like responded a few times. I was actually interested in having him on the show, but I'm
Mhm.
just too busy to cover other local stuff. They wanted me to cover Everett stuff, and I feel
Yeah.
bad because
Oh.
he's been messaging me
Mhm,
over and text me,
mhm,
and I think I told him at one point, keep texting me because I'll eventually get back to you. But
mhm.
I think they even gave up because it's like I can't do anything about Karen Reed. So
Yeah, it's just so time consuming, and, like, you know as well as I do, like, right now, we all have some, like, grace time, but, like, as soon as opening arguments start, which look like it
on.
could be next week, we are all gonna be like, you guys will not find us unless
Yeah.
we're here.
Yep.
Unless we're
Exactly.
streaming. Like,
Yeah.
you won't be able to find us. That's why I'm like, all the interviews get done this week or next week, you know?
You
So
know the ones that drive me crazy? It's the messages that you get, like, they're, like, 10 pages long,
I'm
and
like, the
someone you haven't talked
novels.
to, it's their theory,
Yeah, they're
and they're
like,
like, and
"Here's
then
what
they
I think
expect you to get back
happened,
to them, and it's like, I
and
don't have
here's"
time to read this from 100 people. I just don't. I'm sorry. I'm not
Well,
reading your
you
theory.
could just have, like, ChatGPT, or, like, you could take the whole this sounds bad, guys. this is like a bad content creator thing. But if it's like a giant message like that, I take the whole joint. I'm like, hey, ChatGPT, can you tell me what this
Tell me what
means?
this is about.
Yeah. And then it will give you a summary.
Oh,
And then
that's
you're like,
classic.
oh, okay. But like the
That's next level.
expectation,
That is next level. I love
oh my
that.
goodness, you have to use it. I use it for everything. It's literally my assistant at this point. So, I'm also revealing that if you guys email me that your
You put
ChatGPT
in
is
ChatGPT.
responding.
Hey, I don't think people understand how much time is wasted by us creators just reading the goddamn messages we get, because some of us
Yes.
get a lot of messages,
Oh my
and people
goodness.
get so mad if you don't respond. It's like, you don't understand. If I
Did you
responded
leave
and
me
read every single
red,
message I got, I
Mike?
wouldn't do a show. I wouldn't do a show. I'd be just reading messages and responding to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot. It's either that or like, when people are trying to find me, like even yesterday, that whole Young Thug thing came out. I wanted to take the day off Wednesday night. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna get some sleep. I have a lot of filming to do tomorrow. Left the phone on the kitchen counter. I walked by and I saw all these Twitter messages. I was like, something must be going on.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
Came back in the morning. My phone was literally overheating on fire because of this Young Thug thing, and I was just like, we have to go. Pam, you like that? Trooper Paul.
Chupa
Trooper
Paul.
Paul.
I love that you're Boston based. I love this AV.
Oh, me too. And it's just, I started looking at it because a lot of people were like, oh, like, because so many people need to find me to know that I'm covering Karen Reed. Because I was all over YSL, that now this is a new audience for me. But I'm like, I'm here. I'm in the state. I can help, like, so it's been tough to watch like a lot of folks grow with it. But like you, like me, we're here. Like we're in the state, like we know the ins and outs of it. Have you seen the Karen Reed billboard?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
people don't even know that that's here,
Oh,
you
yeah, that's been
know?
there since,
Or you're
for
at
years now.
Shaw's or
Yeah.
Market Basket, right? And somebody's wearing the free Karen Reed sweatshirt. I'm like, we're on the same team. I love it.
Yes. I love it.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
so thankful you're here tonight.
Me
You
too.
spent It's been like 2 hours now, so
Yeah,
I do
yeah, you
wanna,
too.
wrap it up and let you go and not take too
Sweet.
much more of your time.
No,
I wanna
sorry.
thank you so much for being here. Do you have any final thoughts, anything else you wanna share? And tell us how people can follow you. I know you're an
Yeah.
X, Twitter, YouTube. We got your links in the chat tonight.
Sweet. Thank you guys. Yeah, no. So I think that this is going to be an interesting trial. I support all creators that are covering it. And Mike, thank you so much for having me on. I'm always gonna, shout you out anytime that I can because, I really want people to become more aware of this case, like many of you guys. Like I just think it should get way more attention than it's getting. Because this could be any of our family members. It could be you, it could be me, it could be anyone that's going through this. And whether you're on John's side, whether you're on Karen's side, either side is still getting not the best care that they could get for a situation like this. And I don't think that it is a good thing at all. So I'm all over it, boots on the ground with Mike here. And I hope we could do more of these in the future. I know we've got a few
Totally.
trial, but
I would
definitely.
I'd love to have you back on here, especially I think with some panelists too.
That would be
Uh,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I hope everyone follows you. We had a couple more questions come in. Well,
Yeah, yeah,
quick
yeah. You got
questions.
it.
Does AV like Howie Carr in this one? Have you been able to watch the entire first trial?
So Dirty Bev, not the whole thing. So what my chat has done is there's a lot of folks that watch the full entire first trial because I was not able to. I've had folks send me a list of the important witnesses for us to catch up on, and that's what we've been doing. So over the last month, we've been catching up on that. And then a lot of folks are like, "Hey, you got to watch the full thing," but we just didn't have time with a month, right, to get through all what is it, 40 days, 30 to 40 days,
Yes.
8-hour days. Like that's still a lot. I just came off of completing the ASAP Rocky trial in February. So March opened up and that was when I was able to just focus completely on Karen Reed. So we've been watching the important testimonies. I ask chat for feedback all the time. I'm like, guys, which one do you want to do next? And they were like, Trooper Paul,
Mhm.
like that one. We still need to get through Colin Albert, which I'm hearing is a lot of fun. But it's great because people that have seen it, they're like, oh, I can't wait to see her reaction to this. So it's a really good time.
And Howie Carr, do you like him or know him?
I don't even know who
You
Howie
don't know Howie
Carr
Carr.
is.
He
Should
he's kind
I?
of he's a legendary radio talk show host, right wing,
Wait,
and writes for the
wait, wait,
Boston
wait.
Herald. He's been writing some great columns about Karen Reed and
Actually, I think I was in an Uber recently and I heard Howie on
yeah,
because the person that gave me a ride was a little bit older and he like loved Howie. And I
yeah,
now
he's
it's
got
now it's ringing a bell. I
that
remember
that
this.
that sounds like a Howie Carr listener.
Yes.
Like, that is definitely
Like Howie had the hardcore Boston accent,
yeah,
like I was just
yeah,
like, okay, here we go.
yeah.
So it was good to hear. So that just rang a bell. So to say that I like him, I don't know enough yet, but I'm aware.
I always say I love Howie. I get bored when Howie talks about politics,
He talks
but I
about it
love
a
when he
lot.
covers the local corruption. Like
Oh
he
yeah.
does or crime. He does such a good job on local corruption and crime. I love it.
Yeah, around that time, I think that's when we were getting some like ice raids and like Eastie and things like that. And everybody was scared, but it's a lot, you
It
know?
is.
hmm
I got it. Well, here's another one. Mike, you're gonna want to ask AV about YSL Luna. I think this is the last one we'll do today. What is YSL Luna?
So my dog's name is Luna, and
Oh,
she is a 5-year-old Cavachon. She's a Bichon and a King Charles Cavalier mix. I'm in my den, but she finds ways whenever I'm streaming to like use her snout to like bust into the to the den. It's
yeah.
double doors, so she finds a way to like make her way in here. She's trying to do it right now. She was trying to do it
Oh,
10
love
minutes
to see
ago.
her.
So
I got a
whenever,
dog. I got a
oh
Charlie
sweet,
sitting right here too. He's
yeah,
I used to have a Bichon. It's funny. I'm a
yeah.
dog walker, but like full time.
Oh,
It's
fun.
kind of my side gig now because this has become more full
Yeah,
time. But
yeah. There you
I have a
go.
dog walk business. I love dogs, so that's why
Yeah.
they said you got to find out about Luna. They know.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
whenever we're watching a trial, I was watching YSL, so they were calling her YSL Luna. I was watching ASAP
Aw.
Rocky, so they called her ASAP Luna. And
Yes.
they're gonna find some Karen case words to associate Luna with, but she's the sweetest. She'll just sit here. I'll bring her on screen, and we'll watch a trial.
Aw. That's
hmm
beautiful. Betterow
Yes.
has a dog named Luna too. That's funny.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Look at
yeah,
that small
yeah,
world.
yeah.
Popular name.
Yes.
hmm
Awesome. I want to thank you so much for being here. It's been like almost 2 hours here, and it went by so
Yeah.
quickly. 1 hour and 50 minutes, and it was so
Yeah.
much fun.
Yes.
I can't wait
Good
to do it
time
again,
for
and
sure.
thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your weekend,
You
and
too.
everyone watching, please go follow AV to the 7th power.
Right here.
I didn't
That's
even
how you
ask you, how
find
did
me.
you come up with that'll be the last question. How did you come up with AV
So
to
it
the 7th
actually
power?
happened by accident. So I never intended to be a YouTuber. When I was watching trials, I was in law school, and the first two letters of my name is AV, and this was like just my Instagram handle. I used to follow the lead attorney a lot. He was super cool, and he was covering the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. And so, like, while would be driving to school or something, I would listen to him on my commute. And one day, like, I had mentioned that I was a law student. And he's just like, hey, do you want to come up and have like a, co-host with me? And he's super hardcore. Like, his humor is like hardcore. So I just came up one day on his panel, and then I started co-hosting with him for 2.5 years. Then after that, I was just like, hey, kind of want to spend time on my own channel. So I started building my own channel, but like I got my start with him. And at the time, that was like my Instagram username from when I was like in my early 20s. And so it just kind of stuck because he's just like, well, what's you like, how do people follow you? I'm like, I don't have a YouTube channel. I have an Instagram. And so many people like came over there, and I just never changed the username.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Very
fun
cool.
stuff.
I love it. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you came on tonight,
You
and
too, Mike. Thanks for
I've been
having
watching.
me.
It's so funny because you were watching the Betterow show,
Yes.
and gave us a
Yes.
super chat. And I was like, I don't know if you saw me live when I reacted to that, but I was like, I had just been watching you. I was like,
Yeah.
I had just discovered you like that week, and I was watching some of your shows.
Oh,
And I like,
cool.
yeah. So it was
Yeah.
like when you hit, posted that, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Cause I was just thinking like, I want to get AV on the show. She's awesome. So
Yes, exactly. And I wanted to really get to know the Boston-based creators. So I was just like, people were telling me about you, like in my chat. They were like, you gotta go to Young Turks. You gotta go there. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go through, go in the community, say hello to everybody. And
it was
we
perfect.
made it work. And
We
again,
did.
like hearing the Boston accent from another creator is just, it feels great. So we gotta remain connected.
Yeah, we got to remain connected. We'll park our car
In
and
the
we'll
Harvard
be good
Yard,
at Harvard Yard.
go
Yeah.
to Southie, grab some beers one day at the Shenanigans Bar.
Yeah, we'll hit. Do you like the Kowloon, by the way?
The Kowloon!
Where
For
Bedero and
sure.
I go when we meet
There
in
we
Mazza,
go.
Bedero Mazza, and that's our joint. That's where we
Is
like
it
to go.
really? The
Yeah,
Kowloon. I love it.
Kowloon. Yeah,
I love it. That's
you'll
amazing.
you'll have to be on the next one. I thank you so much for being here, AV. Again,
Anytime, my
everyone
friend.
follow her on YouTube and Twitter and everywhere else, Instagram. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time, AV. Have a great rest of your weekend.
You too. Bye, Mike.
Bye
Bye,
now.
everybody.
She is awesome. I enjoyed that so much. That was fun. Good us citizens says, Mike, are you gonna airing the meeting tomorrow night, the audit meeting? Yes, of course, 2 p.m. We'll be airing that definitely. And beyond that, I don't know what I'm doing. Honestly, I gotta get my taxes done. I gotta get a haircut. I gotta get my glass. All the stuff I've been saying I'm gonna put off that I gotta get done for months. I'm gonna try to get it done now before this trial starts. Try to take a little break. I felt like I went too hard for a few weeks. And even like with the dog business, it got just way too busy this year. And I just kept doing it. I just, it was like a whirlwind with shows and dog walks and dog sits. And now everything's kind of slowing down. It's the quiet before the storm. So I'm going to take this opportunity, try to slow things down in my life, catch up on everything. So I come back refreshed. Yeah, I do my own taxes. I go through the whatever you call it, H&R TurboTax. I do it on the computer because I know where everything is. I got all these different accounts, and it's just easier. But it takes me a while, and I've already started them. But it's hours sitting behind that computer, looking up things, putting things in. So I'm not gonna feel stress free until my taxes are done. That's the truth of it. So I'm just gonna get that done, chill the hell out, not stress myself out doing too many shows this week. Maybe not even do any. We'll see. You never know. Things come up. Sometimes I want to do a show, but I'll be ready. As soon as Karen Reed starts, we'll be ready to go. Exactly. That's the other thing. On Tuesday, if you're in Canton, you gotta vote for Susan Harrington. Gotta replace John Connolly. Probably I imagine I'll be covering that Tuesday night as well, the election. Big election in Canton for select board. We've been covering it. You gotta vote if you're in Canton. Vote for Susan Harrington on Tuesday if you haven't already voted. Yeah, speaking of which, I think to end the show tonight, this is appropriate. I want to replay the end of this Canton police audit meeting from last night. This was so friggin' epic. This was so good. This guy, David Clow, we got to get him on. Dave, man, you got to come on the show. If you watch it, if you know Dave, tell him to hit me up. He was phenomenal last night. This was so friggin' good. He was all over this Bob jerk. And then he submits his own paperwork. This shit was so good at the end last night. This was like, I was literally like, I don't like to be crude, but I was having an orgasm last night watching this. I was just like, you got to be shitting me, dude. This was so good at the end. Yeah, the first 5 minutes were good too. I'm going to skip the first five. We're just going to go right to the end, the big ending here. And then even like when they faded out, you could still hear them talking. And Bob's like, I need a copy of that. And Dave's like, you already got one. He basically told him, I just emailed it to you, dude. It's so freaking funny. So fucking. This is how we're gonna end the show tonight. I want to thank all my super chatters tonight. Thank you, Lena. Thank you. I gotta know, Southern Mom, good U.S. citizen, Sherry D, unidentified co-conspirator, Sherry U as well. Ryan, I want to thank Ryan S as well, and Kelly Kell and Inlimine Pickets. Thank you, Pickets. And of course, Stephanie, I want to thank all our moderators. Stephanie is one of our best moderators on the team. We have everyone's the best on our team. We got MJ. Thank you, MJ. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Sarah and Shock and Horror. Thank you, Jen O. And thank you, Scott McGinnis. We have a great mod team. I love our mods. Thank you to our moderators. Thank you, mods. Thank you, everybody watching, commenting, sharing. If you haven't, please like and subscribe tonight. Please make sure you subscribe to us. The numbers have been going up. I'm loving it. We're doing really well here. And again, if you haven't subscribed to AV, definitely check her out. Her YouTube is pinned in the chat tonight. All right, let's finish the show by playing this great ending. This is phenomenal. This got me so excited last night. I was so, yes. And again, I want to thank AV for being on tonight. She's a great guest. That was great. This is a great show. Exactly what I needed tonight. To chill. And she's such a good guest. I really enjoyed talking to her tonight. All right, so let's finish with this.
2023. Allison, could you put up on the screen the special town meeting, Article 6, the language of that? What we No, just first that and then the list. All right, that's what we have to meet. The procurement committee shall provide a public report on the process and outcome of the procurement when completed. Now, if you put up the other list, this is a list that was, I won't say I developed, I cleaned it up. This basically was a list from Mr. Scollins.
I want to answer Kelly. She said, tell more people about AV. She needs more views and encouragement. Oh, I definitely will. And tonight, I just think everyone should subscribe to her. You could see how good she was and how she's really into educating people and how sweet she is. She is such a nice woman. And she got the legal experience. So definitely follow her. And we'll definitely have her back on and keep promoting her. So I'm looking forward to having her back on the show. Very happy that we connected tonight. So definitely follow her. And we'll do everything we can to promote her, definitely. She's phenomenal. And you know what's going to happen too, by the way. Every time someone good comes on the show, all the other shows start inviting them, which I like. So I bet you'll see AV on a bunch of other shows now too. If she wants to be a guest on them. Here, let's get back to this video. Let's have some laughs here.
An email to Dave here back in November when he had asked a similar question. I cleaned up the bottom of it, just the report coming in, and the final report will speak for itself. It's not a public police audit committee to politicize what a neutral party found. The goal of this endeavor was an independent audit report, and a Five Stone Intelligence has delivered this to us. Now, David also has a report that he brought in, but I understand there are no copies. He has it all. I think it's an 11-page report that he wants to implement instead of having a one-page. It's 11 to 12 pages, and it's going over details. But a lot of it is on the minutes we just voted is contradicting what we just voted from pages 8 to 6 and on. The other thing I'm a little surprised at, David, some of it I noticed in there are emails that I had that I think you got from a FOIA request that you had on me back months ago.
No.
Well,
No,
it sure looked like it anyway. The other thing I was a little bit surprised at is the fact that
Bob didn't like it and FOIA'd, huh? What's Bob trying to hide?
in there, you mentioned your name 35 times in 12 pages. I thought you must be running for an office or something, but maybe you're setting it up for next year. Anyway, that's immaterial. Nobody has a chance to look at the.
Thought he was funny there. He thought that was funny. You might be running for office. Oh, ha, ha, ha. What a dick.
difference between the two.
Well, I emailed it to you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and they have it, but
Send it
you
to the
didn't bring
committee?
copies for anybody else, so and it's not going to be able to go up on the board, so we can't look at it that way. I would look for a motion right now.
Ms. Neff, at the moment, I could just get on my phone and
No,
forward it
that's
to
all
her
right.
if you want to bring it on the board.
I think
But,
I don't think we
Mr.
have to do that
Chair,
at this point.
If I may, the report that Mr. Scollins provided, a dozen or so bullet points, isn't really a report. Mr. Scollins wasn't really involved in the process. He actually said he wasn't involved at many public meetings. I think he might have attended one and had to leave halfway through. But, for instance, this doesn't even show how you just wrote, the committee was formed. There was a
It doesn't
specific
matter.
process on how that committee was formed and how, you were able to hand select two people and myself and Kathleen had to be voted in by 300 people who signed the original petition.
But that was what
and
the
there's-
petition is put on the ballot.
So
That's what you wanted, not us.
So it goes on to describe what happens behind the scenes. This is the process of how this committee has worked back and forth for the past almost year now. And this, you're missing a lot of vital information in here.
We have 7 hours of video, roughly 3 hours each meeting. We have minutes from 7 meetings. All of that is in there.
Again, there's probably about 500 emails back and forth that none of that was public. And a lot of that needs to be out in public. And whether you,
Sure does.
and
Why does it have to be in public?
whether you
Why,
want to make this a
Bob?
3-2.
Because we want it. We want it. Freedom of Information Act. I hope people are FOIA-ing, putting it in the FOIA request. I don't want to have to do it. I've done FOIA requests in this town before. I just expect that other people will do it because I know that people do FOIA requests. I hope that, because it's obvious David wants people to FOIA request. He is pretty much sending a signal like, there's something in there. You guys should check out these emails. So Bob obviously doesn't want it. So somebody better be FOIA requesting those emails.
Vote or not, I would still issue this as a dissenting report for the committee because committee members have the ability to issue a dissenting report.
That's up to you. I would
So,
look for a motion on the one page to vote that.
motion to table Mr. McCarthy's report.
Second.
Oh, we're going to ask to table. So we have those looking to table the report. Kathleen, how are you
Second it.
voting?
To table the report?
Yes.
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
I'm sorry, correction. Motion to table Mr. McCarthy's bulleted list is the correct motion. So
Semantics. David, yes or no?
it's not a report, sir.
It is. Yes or no?
I'm voting motion to table it, yes.
Table? No? No? We're not, so that would be
No.
1, 2, 3. 3 against, 2 in favor. So that motion fails. I'd look for a motion to pass.
Well, let's continue.
I have the floor right now, and don't interrupt me.
You don't need to
I'm the
talk to
chair.
me like that.
Oh, yes,
okay?
I do,
No,
because you keep
don't.
interrupting me.
It's very inappropriate.
No, it
sir.
isn't. Not when you keep interrupting me.
I'm
So I'm
not
looking for a
interrupting.
motion to,
Motion to accept the report as presented.
we have a
above.
second on that?
We have a discussion.
So we have a first, the second on that. We have a vote on that.
We have a discussion before you have a vote.
Well,
in
you just had
Robert's
the
rules.
discussion.
And that was part of what's in my report was how Robert's rules was supposed to be part of the committee. You left that off of the report, Bob. The vote for the chairman that the town administrator specifically said was wrong and should have been redone. You left that off of the report. There's another number of other things, how you were inappropriately going through the town administrator to get town council. You didn't have the town council request form on file.
I've
No
never
one in the
talked, I've
committee
never
did.
talked to the town council directly, ever.
Then how did you get the answers to the
I
scope
went
of
through Mr.
services?
Collins or with
It wasn't
Charlie.
through Mr. Collins, it was Mr. Scollins. It was through Charlie Duty, who was supposed to be
Well,
hands off. of
he
this
talks
committee.
to him, but
So
I never
this
did.
is what happened. You involved the town administrator,
We have
who was
discussed,
pointed out in the
David.
report as acting inappropriately, actually acted inappropriately behind the scenes in this committee.
No,
And
that's incorrect.
He actually
And that-
told me to cease and desist.
Yeah, for what you said, you
talking to
should have
him
said cease and
Because I
desist.
told him to
Both
recuse
of you,
himself for
can
having
we
a
go?
family
This has
member
been discussed.
involved in
Can we take a vote?
Yes.
the case.
We have a motion on the table. Kathleen, how are you voting on that?
So we're still having a discussion. and
No,
I
I'm
have
closing discussion.
the floor,
No,
so.
you inappropriately kept on. We have a motion on the floor.
Excuse me, sir.
Oh, no, you excuse
You
me.
don't have
We
to
have a
talk to
motion
me
on the
like
floor.
this.
Oh, yes, I
You're
do.
being very rude.
Kathleen, are you going to vote yes, no, or abstaining?
And
Said no.
No? David,
it
yes,
it
no?
goes on to say how you
David,
invited
yes, no, or
other
abstaining?
bidders outside of a committee vote, Bob. You were inviting people behind the scenes that
Jack,
weren't even
Dan?
voted by the committee, Bob. That's
Yes
not
to that.
right, Bob.
Three-
That's unethical.
3-1-1.
And then you told me I
Motion
have
passes.
to vote.
David, Bob is trying to do his usual bully shit against David, and David does not get bullied. He just keeps going. And David actually destroys this Joker. This is so good. It's only a couple more minutes.
Sir, I haven't even voted
Well,
yet.
you just abstained because you
I
wouldn't give me the
didn't-
vote.
You can't vote for me. You can't abstain
You
me.
abstained.
I'm voting no, Bob.
Oh, okay, so 3-2, motion passes.
And
At that point, I would look for a motion to adjourn, sine die.
And I
Second,
Motion
all
to
those in
adjourn.
favor?
Submit a
Aye.
Kathleen,
report to the record,
motion
which
to
doesn't need a
adjourn.
motion. Minorities have opinions on committees, and I'm
Aye.
respectfully submitting
Aye.
the dissenting report. And
Kathleen, did you
I will
say aye?
provide you a digital copy of that as well.
Kathleen, did you say aye on adjournment?
Yes.
David, adjournment, aye or no?
And I hope that can be posted
David?
on the website along with the town's report to see what actually happened in this
David?
committee.
Yes or no on
And
adjournment?
how this gentleman. who was not
Yes,
a gentleman,
yes or no
was treated.
on adjournment, David? David?
You can vote for me again, Bob.
Oh, no, I wouldn't want to.
Me
I wouldn't
again,
want to listen
Bob.
to you. Yes or no? He's abstaining, so 3-1-1. We are adjourned, sine die. This should conclude the police audit committee meetings forthwith. We're done.
This and that will both be attached to the end of the minutes for tonight.
I would,
We're done. He says, like, he's trying to stay in control, Bob. Forthwith, we're done. He's so dramatic. And then watch the last words here. He's such a clown. Listen to this.
as chairman, I'd like to see that before it goes anywhere.
We've already seen.
I'd like to see it, he says. And then David says, you already got it, you jackass. It's so fucking funny. We're done forthwith. He was very upset that they submitted the real report with what really happened on that committee. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm gonna be streaming tomorrow, definitely 2 p.m. The next public audit meeting, we'll be streaming that here at 2 p.m. tomorrow, Saturday. And then I'm gonna take a little break, I think. I'm gonna enjoy my time off until the Karen Reed retrial really starts up. So again, thank you to my mods. Thank you to everyone watching. Thank you to all those super chats. And thank you, AV. I am gonna, you know what? I'm gonna check one thing. Let me check the Venmo. I think I did see a Venmo tonight. I want to make sure I didn't miss it. Hold on one second. Could have been a customer. I don't know. Let me look. Let me see what's going on here. Okay, it looks like I'm all caught up, hopefully. I just want to make sure I did thank from the other night, Cheryl, Mary, and Pamela, and Barbara. That was from a few nights ago. I want to make sure I thank all of them for sending me some Venmos. Thank you so much. Have a great night, everyone. Enjoy the weather. We'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe to us if you haven't, and AV as well tonight. See you soon. Thank you so much. Oh, I'll answer one more question. Will I be interviewing a reader before the Canton audit? Canton audit came out. Yeah, I think you mean the Canton select board election is probably what, or tomorrow. Is that what you're talking about? I don't think so. I have been talking to Rita. We were hoping to do a show before the election, but she kind of thinks it might be better not to. So that's really up to Rita. Rita has an open invitation to come on the show anytime she wants. I think she's feeling like she probably wants to do that after the election. So we'll see. It's up to Rita. But I'd love to have Rita on anytime she wants to come on. So, and I think we're good. I think we'll cover the Canton police audit tomorrow. Just stream the entire meeting and leave it at that. And hopefully Canton voters make the right decision on Tuesday. Vote Susan Harrington Tuesday in Canton. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you soon.